Hey guys, welcome back. This is Wiley, for those of you who don't know. This is the baby cat. Um, Wanted to give you guys a quick reminder. We are actually in week 3. We're not in week 4. That's next week. Art started a week after. So I've had a lot of emails of people panicking that they thought they were way behind. You're not. Um, yeah. I know it's very confusing. It's been confusing kind of for everybody. But Art started a week behind. We're in week 3, not 4, just week 3. So this week is an odd numbered week, week 3. So we're doing planning and sketching. Don't get ahead of yourselves. I've already had several people do the week 4 work. I haven't looked at it. I won't look at it until week 4 to give you guys time to go back and change things if you have to. I would, and some of you have heard me say this before, but I would much rather have an assignment come in a couple days late than have you guys rush through it and essentially learn nothing and also hate what you've done. I would rather it be a little bit late and have you be proud of what you did and know that you did a good job than to rush through it. And not just in my class, but in any class, if you're rushing, chances are good you're not reading the directions. And I got plenty of submissions from last time where I could tell you really didn't read the directions. You just read the title and kind of went with it. And that's okay. I get it. You're all trying to rush. You thought you were late. But this time, please don't rush. Okay. Don't submit week 4 until you've really gotten a good understanding of exactly what it is we're doing. Because balance is a little tough. So we're going to go over that today. So first thing I want to talk about is just what balance is. Balance is stability. It's something looking like it's on level ground. Not necessarily actual ground, but I'm going to try to tell you about that now. So here's my table of props. So this is a little table I built out of cardboard paper tubes. But you can tell that it's got 4 legs and it's balanced. Now, if I take one of the legs, it doesn't really look balanced anymore. We know that it's technically standing, but your brain understands something's not right, okay? Something doesn't look correct. It's because it's missing this whole section. If I turn it like that, it gets a little more obvious that we're missing a piece. This section's totally gone. It doesn't look like it's going to stand up, and if I put any weight on it, it won't. Think of that when you think of how to make art look balanced. Make it look like it's the same on both sides. That gets a little bit trickier though, because it doesn't have to be exactly the same on both sides. So let's look at our little pigs here. So if I put a line right down the center of these, that is going to be exactly the same on both sides, right? Right. Now, how about if I stack the pigs? Still the same, right? The exact same on both sides. Put a line right down the middle, it's the same. How about if I do it this way? Is this balanced the same way on both sides? If you said yes, you're right. This brown, the white, and the pink are the exact same on both sides, even if they're not in the same order. This is called visual weight. It has the same amount or weight of pink, of white, and of brown. It has the exact same weight as that. Now, if I were to physically weigh them, it would also be exactly the same. So you couldn't really tell me it wasn't. This is another type of balance where it's not exactly the same on both sides, but it is equal. The third is going to be this little guy. This is the same no matter how I rotate it, right? This is balanced. This is balanced from the center outward. That is a type of balance as well. And we're going to go through those really quickly. I don't want it to be like a crazy long video or anything. So I'm going to Show you this thing I put together for you. I know nobody likes PowerPoints, but I'm gonna try to do this quickly. So balance, what is it? How do I make it? So there's three major types of balance that I'm gonna try to talk to you about. First is symmetrical or formal. That means it's the same on both sides. Not exactly the same all the time, but it's at least real close on both sides. Put a line right down the middle, it's the same. Asymmetrical or informal is not the same on both sides. Still balanced, but it's not the same on both sides. Think of the pigs, okay? Not the same on both sides, but it is still balanced. Quick note, if you're trying to remember which one's which, if there's an A in front of a word, it typically means not. So if it's symmetrical versus asymmetrical, it's symmetrical versus not symmetrical, okay? So same on both sides, not the same on both sides, if that makes it any easier. In radial, you might have heard of things like that in geometry, radius. This is a circle or something that kind of forms a circle. It's that everything is the same coming out from the center. So like that flower, it goes this way, all the way from the center, all the way around, okay? So if you were to have a bunch of hands doing something like that, I've seen people do the pictures where they have everybody's hands, that's radial. It's coming out from the center all the way through the fingers. So this is what the module has. I actually put them in here. Not everybody's good with huge definitions, so I did the kind of the easy one. But as this one says, it doesn't have to be exactly the same. It says, will be identical or very similar, okay? If I cut this down the middle, this picture of the Taj Mahal, it's not exact on both sides. It's pretty close though. You have some buildings and trees, but if I cut it, it's pretty obvious. This is about the same on both sides. Human face too is not perfectly symmetrical, but it's pretty darn close. This picture is not my favorite for this particular type of balance. I think there's easier ways to show you guys, so just real quick. It's saying if you see a tall, thin tree in a short, wide bush on opposite sides of a picture, they actually balance each other out because all of the kind of bushiness of the tree going upwards is in the bush just going this way, if that makes any sense. Radial, again, comes right out from the center, just like this flower. They said the bicycle wheel, tire rim, those things. They also said mandala. I'm gonna guess you guys don't know what a mandala is. You might, but if you don't, that wasn't very helpful for you. So I thought I would show you some better things. So first one is this one, formal versus informal. If I cut this down here, separate it, clearly it's the same on both sides. If I do the same here, you'll say, oh, well, it's not the same on both sides, it's not balanced. But if I were to take this section, do I see this shape here on this side? Yes, I do, okay? This is right here, it's just in a different position. So it has the same visual weight, it's just not in the same visual place, okay? So you can see that here too. If I separate this right down the center, clearly these aren't the exact same thing. But does it have about the same visual weight? Yeah, it does, okay? These bushes even out this space here, and the white over here is actually brought into more places on that side. So actually it is the same visual weight. This would be symmetrical or formal. Same here. Not exactly the same, but this is really close. That would be symmetrical or formal. Asymmetrical is a little bit harder to explain. I like this picture a lot better. If I separate this right down the center, it has about the same amount of white space on this side as this side, about the same amount of blue, about the same amount of black, about the same amount as yellow on both sides. That's really what this is about. It's not exact, but it's really, really close. The next one is a little bit harder to tell. I mean, this one almost looks like it could be symmetrical if you just shifted some things. This one, you really can't do that. It's always going to be longer on one side. It's got this beautiful curve to it. So let me point out how this becomes balanced. So if I put the line right down the center, obviously there's more yellow on this side than this side. And we have this light blue and this dark blue. How could that possibly be balanced? Well, this light blue, okay, remember this is our line in between. This light blue is actually down here. And this yellow is right here. It's not the exact same amount of yellow, but it's pretty close. In a different spot, but it's pretty close. It's also good visual weight because if we had the same amount of yellow, it would be too much. This yellow is sitting on this nice light blue, but these are bright on a dark surface, so they're gonna look even brighter. That means that if we had more yellow, this would look unbalanced. So what we have is the same amount of light versus dark on both sides of this. Radial, it's pretty simple. Snowflake is a really, really good version of radial. I made this one back in like December. If I radiate or move out from the center, no matter where I'm at, it's exactly the same. Now, you don't have to do something as perfect as a snowflake. And you might say, oh, well, this is a lot easier, thanks. But what I'm saying is it doesn't have to be exact, okay? We have a bunch of different saints, probably. Around here, we've got a figure in the center, we've got some of the doves, and then we've got people down here. But the basic premise, all of the shapes are exactly the same. You can do that. This is more abstract or kind of just basically shapes. You guys can do abstract. That's okay for this. Totally no judgment on that one. I know a lot of you guys actually really like doing abstracts, and that's okay. You can do that. There's actually also a way to go too far when you do informal balance. So I wanted to point that out because I've seen it and it doesn't turn out very pretty. So all of this down here shows visual weight, okay? This is the same visual weight as this. This is the same amount of brown. That same visual weight. This would be your formal, by the way. This middle one is informal, but it's the same visual weight. We have a clear focal point or thing that I'm supposed to look at. Not balanced exactly the same way, but it is still equal. This one right here is way too imbalanced. We have these heavier objects versus this very light object. Now, it tells you right here that they're heavier, but they're way too heavy. What we're looking at is we're looking at larger objects versus one tiny object set far apart. That's going to have something that makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable. Part of balance is just how it feels. You know how it feels if you get unbalanced and you're just like, uh-oh, like you're about to fall down. You know what that feeling in your stomach feels like. You get something a little bit like that, just a lot milder, when you're looking at a piece of artwork that's totally wrong. So here's one that really bothers me. This is unbalanced. This is way too far on this side. If I were to move this same object and still have just the one circle, but I moved it a little bit further, so when I cut this in half, a little bit of this side was sticking over here, that would make me feel a whole lot better. Even if I just scooched it a little bit further here and it still wasn't down the middle line, that would still make me feel better because there's no white on this side and way too much over here. And there's no darkness over here and way too much over there. So part of balance is just saying, okay, does this feel right to me? Does this feel tense to me? This feels really tense. Okay, it feels a little bit like I'm gonna get anxious looking at it. And I don't mean like I'm gonna have a heart attack, but just something just doesn't feel right. It doesn't make me feel at peace. It doesn't make me feel terribly comfortable. There's something just not right about it. So just be careful, make sure that you find that balance in your balance work. Some questions that people have been asking me, yes, you guys get to do digital this time. Any medium you want, it can be collage, it can be, people are doing cool stuff with like like pencil sculptures or like drawing, not drawing with pencil, but drawing with pencils, like lining them up, like matchsticks and stuff. That was really cool. You can do that for this. That's totally fine. But yeah, you can do digital. You couldn't do it for collage, but you can do it for this. Um, and again, if you have any questions, always contact me. I'm always happy to pop onto Zoom and help you guys through anything you need to. You can email me or contact me right through my learning, comment on any of the discussions or on this video. That's totally fine. Anything you guys need, that's what I'm here for. I know it's tough because I'm not in the classroom to kind of go to you and try to help you where I see you need help or kind of pick up that maybe you need help. I know it's tough that I can't do that, and I really wish that I could because it's easier for everybody if I can do that. But I am going to be here anyway. Tomorrow I'll try to have a Zoom meeting again like we did in week 1. I would prefer it to be people who are actually going to be working with us. Sometimes you get a lot of people in a Zoom meeting and people who need to ask questions feel embarrassed, so they won't. So only people who are going to be working on their project, on their planning or sketching, or would like actual help should be at that meeting tomorrow. If you're just going to go and hang out, I'd really prefer you sit that one out. We can try and make just like a chat Zoom sometime where we can just kind of relax and talk about stuff if that's something you guys think you really need. But I would really like this to be something where only people who are actively doing art or need help in art are going to the Zoom. It just makes it a little more comfortable for people who need help. So that said, I think that's it for me. So if you need anything, please let me know. Anytime, I'm always available. Good luck, and I can't wait to see what you guys do. You guys have been doing awesome work already.